Hey everyone, welcome back to VOXQUEU. Today we've got some wild ones. Grab a drink, settle in, and let's get into it. There is a certain kind of confidence people get when they think nobody can prove anything. When everything is based on words, tone, and pressure, they move fast, talk louder, and act like reality is something they can shape in real time. That confidence holds right up until proof shows up, and once it does, everything flips. The first one started over something that should have been simple. Olivia had family over for the weekend. The house was full, cars lined the street, and everything felt loud but normal. That's when Eli showed up. Eli was the HOA president, the kind of guy who treated minor rules like legal cases. He walked up holding printed documents and pointed at Olivia's garage wall like he had been waiting for this moment. He told her the wall crossed the property line, said the whole block agreed with him. That part mattered. He wanted her to feel outnumbered before she could even respond. Olivia told him she would check the property survey. Eli didn't like that. He got louder, said surveys didn't matter when community standards were involved, and he made sure to say it in front of her family. And this is where it gets worse. He wasn't just complaining, he was performing. He wanted her to look unsure, to create pressure in front of an audience. Olivia shut it down, told him to leave, and went back inside. That should have been the end, but it wasn't. The next day, she noticed marks along the side of the garage near the fence. Something had been scraped. That same night, her cousin mentioned seeing a contractor near Eli's house earlier. Olivia didn't argue. She checked. Her security camera covered the side yard and part of the driveway. At 7:14 that evening, the footage showed Eli's contractor walking through the gate, measuring the wall, then scraping along the base. 2 minutes later, Eli stepped in behind him, pointed at the wall, and looked toward the house. That changed everything. At the next HOA meeting, Eli walked in confident. He spoke calmly, said Olivia was uncooperative, said the wall had possibly been altered. The room leaned his way, not fully, but enough. Here's what they didn't expect. Olivia stood up, placed her phone on the table, and asked one question. If the wall was such a problem, why was Eli's contractor on her property before the complaint was even filed? Silence. Then she played the footage. You could feel the room shift. One board member leaned forward, another stopped writing. Eli tried to explain, said it was just an inspection. Olivia asked if inspections usually involved trespassing and scraping someone else's wall. That was it. The complaint was dismissed right there. Within weeks, Eli stepped down after other neighbors spoke up. He thought pressure would win. He forgot cameras don't respond to pressure. The second story is about money, and this one gets a lot uglier. Olive sold a car to Elijah. They knew each other, which is exactly why things weren't handled carefully. He paid a deposit and promised the rest in 2 weeks. 2 weeks passed. Nothing. At first, it was excuses. Bank issue, payroll delay, app problems. Then the tone changed. Elijah started acting offended, told mutual friends Olive was harassing him. Then he went further. He said he had already paid her in cash and she was trying to collect twice. That kind of claim spreads fast because it's just vague enough to sound believable. And then everything shifted. Once small claims court became real, Elijah got confident. That's always a sign. He started talking like he had already won, telling people she would embarrass herself. Olive stopped reacting and started checking. She pulled everything: transfer records, text messages, timeline of events. Then she remembered something small. Early on, Elijah had tried to pay using a card through a link she sent. The payment failed, and he brushed it off. At the time, it meant nothing. Now it mattered. She found the failed payment attempt. Then she found something worse: a chargeback notice on the original deposit. That should have been the end. But it wasn't, because now the story was clear. He hadn't just avoided paying the rest, he tried to reverse the money he already sent while telling people she took extra cash. That's not confusion, That's planning. In court, Elijah walked in calm, controlled. He told the judge there had been a misunderstanding about cash, said there were no receipts for that part. No receipts. That's what he leaned on. Olive waited. When it was her turn, she handed over everything. Payment records, the failed card attempt, text messages where he clearly said he would send the rest later, and finally, the chargeback notice. The judge read it twice. You could feel the shift. Elijah tried to explain, said it was protecting himself. Then Olive read one of his texts out loud. A photo of him in the car smiling, saying, "It runs perfect." That was the moment it broke. He lost. Full payment, fees, and no credibility left. He thought confidence would carry him through. He forgot paperwork doesn't change just because you talk louder. The last story is the worst, because this one plays out in a room where reputation matters. Owen worked in an office where promotions were being reviewed. Everyone was already on edge, trying to look consistent, reliable, solid. That's when the problem started. A set of shared design files went missing, timelines slipped, leadership got involved, and suddenly Victor stepped forward. Victor was an admin with access to shared systems, not leadership, but close enough to influence things. He didn't accuse Owen privately. He said it in the meeting, said Owen mishandled the files, said versions were overwritten, said the login trail would prove it. That line landed hard. Here's what they didn't expect. Victor was counting on timing. He expected the accusation to settle in before anyone actually checked the logs. Owen didn't react emotionally. He kept it simple, said that wasn't what happened, and left it there. Then he contacted IT. He asked for the full access history, every login, every change, every movement. Leadership was copied. The report came back the next morning. It showed Owen accessed the files normally during work hours. It also showed Victor logged in remotely that same night. He moved the folder, renamed files, then tried to restore everything later. He created the problem, then blamed Owen for it. And this is where it gets worse. The report also showed Victor access the promotion review folder right before the meeting, so this wasn't random. He knew exactly what he was doing. In the follow-up meeting, the IT manager printed the log and placed it on the table. Paper hits differently. The room went quiet. Victor looked at it, then tried to explain, said it was troubleshooting. The IT manager asked if troubleshooting usually involved renaming folders at midnight and restoring them after another employee was blamed. Silence. That was the moment everything shifted. Victor lost all credibility instantly, not slowly, not over time, instantly. He was removed from his role and gone within weeks. Owen got the promotion. Not because of sympathy, because the truth showed exactly who was doing the work and who was manipulating the situation. And that's the pattern across all three. They all believed the same thing, that confidence could replace proof, that pressure could shape reality, that if they spoke clearly enough, early enough, and in front of the right people, they could control the outcome. But proof doesn't care about timing. It doesn't care about tone. It doesn't care how certain you sounded 5 minutes earlier. Once it shows up, everything else disappears. That's why people like this rely on public pressure. They want the room to move before the facts arrive. They want reactions, not verification. Because once verification starts, it's over. Confrontation can be argued. Proof can't. And that's why these moments hit so hard. Not because someone wins, because reality finally gets its turn. Anyway, that's the one thing people like this never plan for. They always think the room will stay on their side, until the screen lights up, the paper lands, or the log gets read out loud. Thanks for being here, and stick around, because there are always more wild ones waiting.